the question has been raised as to whether or not the content of the previous meetings is different from the content of this, or is this just a repetition?
It's a repetition. In the previous meetings, we're going to do the same exercises that we did previously. One thing that is important to note, this is about the county as a whole, not about San Andreas as a community. Some of the issues relative to San Andreas may play out throughout the county. We can certainly bring those up. We're looking for an overall picture of where we want the county to go. The interactive exercises will point you that way. We'll have county facilitators or contractor facilitators at each table to help you along. So don't want you to stress too much about the paperwork that's sitting in front of you right now. I'm really looking forward to that.
Okay. I've been told to keep brief, so I'll speak to it. I'm encouraged by the attendance here tonight, and like Stephanie said, this is about the county's general plan, which of course means that if there's some folks that didn't make it tonight, they're welcome to go to the other meetings, from Dollar Springs, from West Point, etc. like that. And then all of you can go there too if you'd like, because it's about the county as a whole. We've come to a point here in this county, obviously, where we have to start thinking about regional development and not be isolated in the little communities that we've had thus far. Even the community plans are going to have to do that. It's essential. And your input here is also essential. You know, we and you hear a lot about the government does this and the government does that. You know, listen to it. Well, that's what this is all about here. And so Stephanie and Lynn O'Connor, they're going to put you to work tonight. So we're looking for some open and robust conversation. And we'll try to repeat what happened with the little fist fights, because so far we're doing well there. And that's about all I have to say. You both do the work. And Stephanie will explain the program to you and how it is going to work tonight. And I expect you folks will, you're here because you're interested. So I expect you to sit at the table and hammer it out and come up with some ideas and some philosophies for the future of Calvert County.
Planning Commission and Board of Supervisors on April 24th. And the most important part of this first phase was to go out to various places in the county and hold a series of workshops to get early input on the general plan. And I'll be summarizing the results of that. The second phase of our update program is the production of this baseline report. It's sort of a state of the county report. It looks at existing conditions and trends in Calaveras County today. And so it's sort of a snapshot in time of where you are relative to all the issues that we're going to be talking about in this general plan update, including population and demographics, land use, scenic, community character, housing, transportation, public facilities and services, and so forth. Now, actually, the housing element is on a separate track, so it's not part of the regular general plan update program. You will be having to deal with the housing element update separately within the next couple of years. So we're now in phase 3, and we started out phase 3 with a meeting of the Board of Supervisors on October 23rd, and then a very important part of this third phase is this round of workshops around the county. Once we get the results of all these meetings, we get those summarized, we're going to prepare key issues and opportunities to report and a draft vision statement. And that package will then be published for your review, and it will be sent to the Board of Supervisors and the Planning Commission for their review and their endorsement. So we'll get sort of an interim check-in by the Planning Commission and Board at that point in the process, and then that'll set the foundation for the rest of the general plan update. So again, major products from this phase, workshop summary, and then the key issues and opportunity summary, plus this draft vision statement. So here are the dates for the meetings during the second round of workshops. And here we are on the 5th, tomorrow night, Paparopolis 10th, allows us to go through and through straw vote, pick 5 of these headings. This 5, If we had more time tonight, we'd say, yeah, do all 9. But we think you only have time to do about 5 of these topical headings. And then for each one of these, we're going to be asking you to craft, this is just brainstorming, 1 or more principles, these guiding principles relative to that topic. So pick 5 topics out of the 9, and then for each one of these headings, you're going to be spending roughly 10 minutes. I mean, if you budget your time, it would take about 10 minutes per heading to work through this. Yes?
Larry, in my own small mind, doing some talking that we're looking at some feedback from people with the needs. I'm a little confused about what do you mean by principle? Can you just kind of help me out?
Sure. Well, the wanting principles are one example of how to write principles, okay? And, well, let's see.
Larry, the facilitators will also work
Yeah.
with you at each table to guide you on that.
So let me just give you one example from the wanting principles. The community should contain an ample supply of specialized open space in the form of squares, greens, parks, whose frequent use is encouraged through placement and design. It's a principle, fairly lofty principle. But here's something sort of comparable under community design for the city of Sacramento. This is closer to what we're asking you to come up with tonight. Locate and design buildings, streetscapes, and public spaces that contribute to walkable neighborhoods.
We're not looking for the solutions.
No.
No, we're not, and we want to make sure that you don't spend all your time talking about assets and liabilities. You're saying, well, here's an issue and here's an issue. You know, we spent the first workshop, and we've done a lot of work through this baseline report in identifying the issues. So those are all sort of percolating up through the process. And our best guess at what the leading issues are is right here. So we're not asking you to brainstorm the issues or specifically the solutions. And I know there's going to be a tendency to sort of talk about how to fix the problems, right? Here's what I think we ought to do. Well, we're asking you to sort of go up above it to the 10,000-foot level and say, okay, yeah, maybe that's what I think we should do specifically, but what are we trying to accomplish? What's the vision of our community down the road that problem will fix? Where are we trying to get to? Okay? So it's really a value statement. It's not an action statement specifically. It's more of a value statement. And again, we're not asking you to wordsmith this in any kind of detail, to debate the wording. It's more brainstorming. We're asking you to put them in the form of principles. And then we're going to summarize this and again, weld all this or take it all and work it into a vision statement that'll be like 3 paragraphs long.
One question.
Ranchers, cattle, attack through whatever methods we don't need the incentives now. We don't need the incentives. We need to protect the people who are stewards of the land now, and they're not protected now. And I don't know how you do that, or protect the people who are stewards of the land. And future stewards of the land. The current ones now we have that I'm aware of. Stewards of our open spaces? Yeah, stewards of our open spaces, yeah.
Economic development and transportation situations put together, environmental resources, and safety hazards. For land use, concentrate growth around existing facilities, encourage green belts to separate clusters of business and residential development, protect and provide incentives for people who are stewards of our open space land, reduce minimum acreage size eligible to be considered part of the Protect oak woodlands by planting additional oak trees. Preserve native trees where it isn't possible. Replace native vegetation. Preserve and protect trees. Encourage drainage conservation, promote usage of gray water for individual, industrial, and agricultural use, community design, promote development of community gathering places, require developers to include plazas, town centers, and meeting places, preserve rural atmosphere, and follow historic design guidelines. Health, safety, and hazards. Design development for maximum fire protection. Restrict development to defensible areas, fire, flood, regular. Eliminate grass. Increase public safety funding and recruitment by requiring developers to pay their proportional share. Boy, I thought we were going to do grass. Yeah.
Nobody uses that anymore, right?
Yeah. I go, what?
Somebody has to be old enough to remember that besides me.
Transportation, circulation, and you kind of lumped in economic development. Widen existing roads, promote use of public transit, develop light rail from county to valley communities, promote livable wages/jobs in county, provide incentives for clean industries, promote vocational training, and provide incentives for quality child care.
Baseline report recently out, but it does not reflect reality. Remote fix of community within each identifiable community. Encourage and promote development of, what is that word? What it means is don't let developers gut the flat land first.
Oh, yeah.
In other words, constrict development in identified areas and build some in the hills. Build where infrastructure already exists or is close by. Retain ag and grazing land. There is no prime ag land here, one person said. Preserve the contour and character of the land. Land use record system needs implementation. Preserve ranch lands, add in shopping malls, grocery, shoes, and cars, more retail.
Environmental resources, we have preserve the oaks, maintaining rural landscaping, protecting oaks and timberland with no net loss, encourage natural maintenance, make clear cutting illegal, establish maps that identify wildlife corridors and areas of oaks and endangered species, protect the watershed, existing and all drainage areas that flow into rivers. We want to encourage dark skies. Use and develop and promote solar energy in the building code. And use of all conservation techniques to conserve water.
Public facilities. Design facilities in place before plan approved. Incorporate purple pipes for water conservation in your building codes. Allow communities to be on surface water and proper waste disposal. Require recycling of wastewater. Reuse water for irrigation. Encourage regional facilities, jails shared with other counties. Protect our water rights. Require adequate mitigation for impact on fire, safety, etc. Establish evacuation routes around all new development and ingress and egress in and out, both for tourists and residents. provide for birthing facilities and a trauma center. The Lincoln County money about that. Public facilities consolidate fire, water, and sewer districts under one county operation. Billing rates are not based on the full cost to provide services.
Under health and safety hazards, we would hope to stop developers from building floodplains, identify health and hazards accurately in our area, fire, flood, unstable slopes. We can put in drug issues and the natural asbestos. And so we want to discourage buildings in areas identified in the geofile. We want to give young folks something to do with youth centers and community centers. Do a land use designation that protects public from hazardous areas. Create adequate evacuation plans and also have a plan if there are those evacuating into our plan.
Parks and Recreation, promote more parks, including state. Find better ways to increase county income through improving what we have and enhancing our parks, trails, etc. Build wine and tourism to bring in people, generate source of economic growth that way, preserve the natural resources by building infrastructure that limits people pollution, like cars, gasoline, and overland vehicles. Protect areas by discouraging, well, that's what it is, gasoline, motor transportation. Economic development.
Did put in retail / some big box development with attention paid to smaller business now. Generate that increased tax revenue. Set up wine industry to support less revenue driving and set up a county economic development department. Running tour trains, as we said, and add economic development.
Under economic development, industrial zoning in areas, integration between cluster and industrial, a buffer between residential and industrial development, incentive for doing so from the county, quality child care, preserve historical downtown, tourism and recreation and ag, create a better job base here in the county, and with law enforcement, staffing and infrastructure. Under transportation and circulation, a mail delivery option with locking and security mechanism, bus, more convenient, more stops, more availability, elderly supportive, and with the working individuals going to and from work. Public information of services available, more available, and non-motorized corridors for non-motorized vehicles, and walking, and with the exception of golf cart. Thank you.
Non-motorized, but you can hear
Health and safety and hazards, fire safety, paid and volunteer fire departments, build a job base here, so you have volunteers during the daytime too. Zoning and infrastructure, chips, brush recycling, brush control, timber harvesting, maternity ward, and law enforcement as well, and then some staffing infrastructure. Under public facilities and services, again, law enforcement, staff and infrastructure. Procure water rights, wastewater disposal, infrastructure, potable water, slurry lines, campanize the cement plants, find every avenue to recover and use our water and not to give it away. And under parks and recreation, do it. Next to schools, gray water irrigation opportunities, use of BLM land where possible, and multi-use.
Detailed solutions to the problems. What we've asked you to do tonight is to sort of think about the solutions in a more general way, almost a philosophical way, to help us craft this vision statement that we're going to be compiling and moving forward to the Board of Supervisors for their, ultimately for their approval. But that will only be an interim step. I mean, once we get this vision statement, we will continue to use it, but we'll also continue to refine it as we move forward in this process. So you did a terrific job tonight. We've got lots to work with out of this workshop and the other two workshops. We've got 3 more to go. So I just want to thank you for showing up here tonight and spending a few hours with us and on what we think is, of course, and you must think is a very important undertaking. We're not finished yet, and with that, I'll turn it over to Stephanie.
I just wanted to let you know that this information will all be compiled into a report that will go to the Board of Supervisors no later than March 1st. It will be a meeting held in this facility. We encourage all of you to come and hear what the board has to say in response to the report. After that happens, we'll launch into phase 4, which will be our alternative section. We'll have another whole round of community workshops. So I encourage you to stay involved, stay up to date with what's going on. We're trying to keep our website up to date so you can get information from there or the newspapers. Yes, we're going to launch into the 15-minute.
Will you post these statements on the website?
They will not be posted until we get the report done, and then there will be as an appendix to the report the raw data. Much the same as the last round that we did. Yeah. The Valley Springs meeting is at the school. Is that correct? It's the elementary school down in Valley Springs. And then there's also a meeting in Copperopolis tomorrow night at the Armory. And then District 2, West Point, is on December 12th. So there's 3 more opportunities to participate for those who are unable to attend the previous 2 meetings. Yes.
Are you finding that the priorities here are similar to the other meetings you've had, or are you seeing completely different priorities through the county so
There
far?
are some themes that have been recurring along the lines of open space, public development, public transit. The first meeting did not have, no one picked health and safety hazards. The Murphy's meeting did. This one has more of a focus on those as well. This group seems to have had more interest in, everyone's been interested in economic development. This group seems to have more specific concerns about industry and diversity and jobs than I've seen in the previous ones. More specific concerns about economic development as it relates to jobs and bringing businesses.
The Parks and Recreation Commission, if I can just shameless plug here, is preparing its master plan, its first master plan. The commission is very, very young. And we'll be doing public scoping sessions to build that master plan, and we welcome all of you to join us. So please keep a lookout for when those will occur. We hope to have our master plan done within 6 months. Thanks.
Again, I'd like to know how you implement this, how you enforce your plan.
What happens is that we take all this information and we end up with a draft plan, but before we get there, it's not just narrative, it actually has goals, policies, and implementation measures. And those are the way we implement, is through our implementation measures. And some of that happens in the alternative section, that development. of it, and then it's up to the board to decide if the things that we have come up with as implementation measures are actually feasible. The state doesn't allow us to pay lip service to all this work. They actually have to have things in the plan that are doable. So there's a physical analysis of everything that occurs. There's going to be some very tough decisions for the board of supervisors to make about some of the implementation measures. But that's how everything is implemented. Once the plan's adopted, they also have to approve any ordinance changes, zoning ordinances, et cetera, to implement them. For example, the dark sky ordinance, which is Marita's favorite, Supervisor Callaway's favorite topic, on things that we haven't done yet, would be part of an implementation of the general plan if it makes it in there that we would do later on down the line. So, and then it's up to the planning department as they process development projects to adhere to the general plan, goals, policies, and implementation measures in those approvals.
I have a question. After having sat through the exercise and looking around the room, one of the things that I would like to ask is there anyone here under the age of 40? No, I don't think so. There might be one or two, okay? No. But largely, and this is where the question is, can you break down for me or for us the demographics of this county? There's a large proportion of people who are 40 and above, obviously, or at least they're the ones that are interested. There are an awful lot of people in this county that are retired. They've had their children, they've raised their kids, they've sent them to school or elsewhere, and they come up here to retire. Where does that, what's the number on that? I think we're disproportionately weighted, perhaps, in population that is aging here. It may be because we don't have jobs and so forth, but there are a lot of retired folks or near retirement folks that live up here, and they're coming here in large numbers. And that colors this whole program.
Absolutely. That was one of the issues addressed in the baseline about the aging population. I think Murphy's, we saw more of a mix. There were some younger people there, more of a spectrum that was the first time that they've been engaged and they were committed to coming back. We actually had an 11-year-old at the Murphy's one, our first child that participated in it. But you're right, we have an older population that has the time and energy to invest in the meetings, and it's not that just these other people don't care, it's that maybe that they just don't have the time or energy or childcare or whatever it is to get to the meetings. So it's up to us to try to engage more of the community. If you have any ideas about how to do that, we would look forward to them. Hopefully, before we get to the end of this, we have more of the entire population. But the reality is we are leaning towards an aging population as the baby boomers are getting to that age. So, Jack?
High school civics classes.
We're going to be going to the high schools. Christine and I are going to be making presentations to the school boards and asking to come into the high schools to make those presentations.
I worked with the Kavanaughs passing out flyers at the post office the other day. It was very interesting that very few of the young people want to talk to you about this. You know, I mean, people, I'd say 40 or less, good number. Very few of them want to talk about it. They just don't feel like it's their issue for some reason. It's their issue more than ours, you know.
So maybe I can go to
Sometimes kids are influenced, there's influences on their parents, but a lot of people, there's a large, I think it was 40% of our population is commuting out of the county to work. So if you think about that in terms of by the time they get home, they don't want to go to another meeting after they've been on the road for an hour or two. And those are the people that we have difficulty getting to the meeting. And we really have to work on that because it's not going to be representative of our population if it's only the older generations that attend the meetings. And that was a very good one. Other questions? Mary, did you have anything?
No, I was just going to talk about the high school thing that you mentioned earlier.
Well, I'd like to thank all of you for coming. This has been absolutely wonderful, and encourage your friends, relatives, children, grandparents,